Late night in the heartland. Hello, everybody. Thank you very much. It's late night in the heartland, and we're coming to you straight out that heartland. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian Whistleblower. So nice to have you here. I'm also your mailman because whether it's rain, snow, sleet, dark and night, trolls, no matter what, we continue to deliver the mail. We keep our appointed rounds. We are proud, ladies and gentlemen. We are honored, ladies and gentlemen. We are happy, ladies and gentlemen, to be broadcasting over our great shortwave partner, WBCQ. We are broadcasting right now across the world on 7.490 megahertz, and we are broadcasting on 6.160 megahertz. You know that I'm all about service to others, and you asked, so I delivered. You can now find us. I'm loading this up on all the podcast platforms. It takes a while for some of them to roll them out, but you can find us on a podcast platform near you, like Buzzsprout, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeart, Pandora, TuneIn, Podcast Addict, Podchaser, Deezer, Listen Notes, Player FM, and the PC Index. And ladies and gentlemen, just in case one day you can't find me, just in case one day these type of outlets get shut down, I want you always to remember that you can always go to jeffreydaugherty.com. You can always go to jeffreydaugherty.com, and you'll always be able to find me there. We put the links to the Late Night in the Heartland there. There's some great stuff I can't talk about yet. I'm very excited to bring to you, and we're always bringing you the headlines of what we're going to talk about, and we generally have a great video down here for you. And then we've got the free videos, and you've got the videos for the Cousins Club. But folks, I want to let you know that it's a crazy, crazy time right now. The Canadian Prime Minister Trudeau blatantly said that this dosum wist, that this pandemic, that this stupid 19 was an opportunity for global reset. If you listen to his speech, you can Google it, you can find it. If you listen to that announcement that he made, it's very, very clear that the Prime Minister, or as my friend Vinny Eastwood would say, the Prime Sinister of Canada, is voicing the global line that I told you about when we went through the World Economic Forum, that President Trump had brought globalism to a standstill. They admitted on the site, I showed it to you. I think it's probably been over a month ago now. And what they have realized is that they had to, President Trump was going to win. It was over for the global movement. And what they did was invented this virus. They probably had it, this dosum wist. They probably already had it. And they released it on the United States. And it's really nothing like they say it is. And it has a 98.9% survival rate, or 99.8%. And almost no one dies from it. It's sad, the people that do. But it is something that is shutting down our economy that should never, ever have happened. But it was the only way that they could try to defeat President Trump. It's the only way that they could try to defeat President Trump. And I want to give you some inside information here. And this is nothing that I know for sure, but I get it from very reliable sources. And it does make sense to me that when the White Hats went to Donald Trump prior to the 2016 election, if you understand, if you listen to people like Paladin, if you listen to people that are credible and understand what goes on within these situations, the military had had enough of Obama. They'd had enough of Clinton, and they were going to launch a real coup, a hot coup. They were going to take over the did I just mess up I did. They're going to take over the government of the United States. They were going to take over the government of the United States. And before they did that, they went to Donald Trump and they asked Donald Trump if he would be willing to run for president and if he would be willing to help work to restore the republic. Donald Trump agreed to do that, but I now believe, after thinking about it, I now believe after looking at it, I now believe after careful consideration that Donald Trump said, yeah, I'll do it, but I'm only going to do one term. And I welcome to all of our listeners on the Late Night in the Heartland Facebook, on the Create Yourself with White Dianetics Facebook, on Twitter via Periscope, on WBCQ. Please tell us when we open the phone lines in just a few minutes that you're calling from WBCQ. And of course, all of you folks right here on YouTube. We care much about all of you. And I'm asking you all to subscribe to the channel. I'm asking you to check and see if you are subscribed to the channel. Hit the bell twice. That way, if you love me, you'll never miss a thing. And if you hate me, you need to keep your eye on me because I am just getting started. But I think President Trump, Donald Trump, then just said, hey, look, I'll do it, but I'm only going to do it for one term. He had a great life. He's going to give service to the country. He was only going to do it for one term. But once he got into Washington, he realized how deep and wide the deep state was. He realized how deep and wide the swamp really is. And he came to realization, and as a great patriot, made the decision, you know what? I can't leave after 4 years. I have to finish this job. Donald Trump loves his nation enough. Donald Trump is a great patriot enough that he said, hey, look, listen, guys, I can't give it up after just 4 years. That, I think, precipitated because if you notice, if you go back in time, and this is just coming to me as I talk, the dosum vis, the stupid 19, the pandemic didn't get released, didn't manifest until after President Trump said that he was going to seek re-election, if you think about that. So the fact that he said he was going to seek re-election, he really only had plans for a single term because he wanted to go back and live his great life. And who could really blame him if he just said, the hell with this, I don't need this. I'm going back and I'm living the great life. He worked his whole life to get to this place, and now he's spending his golden years, as they are, defending our republic. That's because he's a great patriot. That's because he's a great, great president. And this is what's precipitated all this. It's the last great desperate attempts of the global cabal to put the kibosh on the president that is empowering us to stop them. Now, in other news that we'll get to in between calls, they say if you lay down with dogs, you'll wind up with fleas. And that's what's happening to Joe Biden. There is a Philly mob boss that Joe Biden has been doing some business with. And the way it is in the mob is as soon as you stop being useful to them, you're not useful to them. And it looks like this Philly mob boss very well may flip on Joe Biden. And this mob boss knows all the dirty details about how the election was corrupted, how the election was obstructed, how the election was stolen, not only in Philadelphia, but throughout the state of Pennsylvania and maybe even other states. You have to understand that Philadelphia, Pittsburgh is a sizable city, but Philly really is Pennsylvania. And I know Pennsylvanians will hate for me to say that, but it really is as far as population and influence. And the mob, you know what? They don't necessarily stop just at the state line. They go where they can go, and they have the territory that they can control. So this Philly mob boss may flip on Joe Biden, and that is going to be super, super interesting as that takes place. Ladies and gentlemen, every day I get more convinced that President Trump is going to be reelected. We're in great shape. Keep yourself in a good mindset. Remember, folks, we are going to win. We're the last generation of real humans. We are unindoctrinating ourselves. We are in the business of doing business. And right now, cousins, our business is booming. And tonight, ladies and gentlemen, I don't really go for kind of extravagant things. I don't really go for crazy things. I don't jump on the latest bandwagon. But tonight, folks, I've received some incredible information. And we're going to go Art Bell on you tonight. We're going to talk about the Horoc. Isn't there a Horcrux in Harry Potter or something like that? But the Horoc. Jeff, what or who are the Horoc? They are a pedophilic, blood-eating. They're pedophilic blood eaters that are hidden amongst us, disguised as humans. And I'm not kidding. They're real. The Horoc, pedophilic blood eaters hidden amongst us, disguised as humans. They're real. And it begins to tie some things together. It begins to let us know what may, in fact, really be going on. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me jump. Somebody in the chat says they're having a hard time being in a positive mindset with all the evil they're surrounded by. That's because you've never learned to control your own mindset. I remember when I first learned neuro-linguistic programming. Some of it can be bad, but I was really, and if you use it right, it can be good. But I remember thinking and realizing that one of the great teachings is nobody makes you feel anything. He makes me so mad. No, he doesn't. She makes me so sad. No, she doesn't. They provide stimulus which you choose to react to. Nobody makes you anything. Nobody makes you sad. Nobody makes you glad. Nobody makes you anxious. Nobody makes you mad. Nobody makes you worried. You decide based on stimulus that you receive to act those ways. It's big boy and big girl time, ladies and gentlemen. It is time to take control of your own thoughts, take responsibility for your own thoughts, take sovereignty over your own actions, and it's time for us all to put on our big boy pants and our big girl panties, pull them up tight, and get into our business. We're in the business of doing business, and right now that business is a booming. Let's do it. I want to talk to you about this crazy thing because number one is interesting, and we're here to put on an interesting show. But also, ladies and gentlemen, it's powerful information, and it begins to answer a lot of questions. And we're talking about the swamp. Where else? What else did you expect to find on the swamp than some strange creatures? The Horocs. They're a pedophilic, blood-eating species, and they're hidden amongst us, and they're disguised as real humans. All right, let's look at this. I'm going to try to get through this and open up the phone lines. We're going to unmask the Horoc, and how this whole thing got started is last week, a caller phoned in when we opened up our phone lines. A caller phoned in and said, I think one of the things they might be doing with these masks is covering up so much of the face because a lot of people are beginning to glitch. A lot of the people that aren't real humans are beginning to glitch. Now, either that's true that a lot of the people that aren't real humans are beginning to glitch, or people that are real humans are becoming to the place of enlightenment that they can see it. Personally, I don't think the bad guys, I don't think the creatures are beginning to glitch. I think that we, those of us that are becoming divine, those of us that are becoming sovereign, those of us that are becoming free, those of us that are improving ourselves, we're getting to the frequency. We're getting to the vibration. We're getting to the place in our Thetan, our inner Thetan, that we can see. They're not really glitching. We're just seeing through the glamour, ladies and gentlemen. And then this certain caller mentioned deep staters wearing masks to hide their facial glitching from humans that are growing in their spiritual and energetic perception. And we have a great listener who has written to me and told me of some great and fascinating information talking about the video. Start off talking about the videos where you see the slit eyes exposed, you see the snake reptilian skin, and they correctly stated, in my opinion, and I'm telling you folks, they correctly stated that it's hard to know with today's technology whether it's real or manipulated. And I say all day long it's manipulated. Folks, think about it. Can you be reasonable for a second? Be reasonable for a second. Let's say that these beings are reptilians, right? And they have hidden amongst us for thousands and thousands of years. They have moved silently. They have moved stealthily. They have defeated all the technology that has been thrown at them. And they have remained undetected, lo, these many years, only to be tripped up and caught by a $9.95 Walmart webcam. Come on, guys. It's not reasonable. Some might even say it's stupid. You're not seeing reptilian eyes. You're not seeing reptilian skin. You're not. You're seeing cheap camera malfunctions, and the brain in those cameras isn't smart enough to interpret what it sees and light changes and stuff, and you get those weird manifestations. You're not seeing reptilians. I'm sorry, and I know some of you are going to get upset, but you can't bitch in the chat room. You got to wait until we open the calls, and then you can call in. So whatever you think about that, I'm just trying to help you. This caller, or this researcher, I'm going to say, this intrepid independent researcher, independent journalist, independent investigative journalist, went on to say that not everything on earth that walks and talks like a man is entirely human. I'm like, wow. They had my attention, and I'm trying to protect their identity because they didn't say, tell me the identity. And this person says that he wasn't always able to see them. That came in time. But listen to this. This person has always been able to smell them. And one of the weird things about me, and Cynthia has remarked on this, I have this strangely uncanny sense of smell, for what it's worth. But this person, this intrepid, independent, investigative journalist, went on to say that there's all kinds of creatures from the kingdom of shadows in this realm right now. Right now. Most of them are drawn to blood and blood sacrifice, which is why they love war, and they have little empathy. They have little compassion for humanity. And I will add that these beings are drawn to, this is me, this is not the intrepid reporter, although I think they might agree. I will add to these that these beings are drawn to and populate most of all the official and unofficial clergy of the various and sundry Christian and Christian-light religions, sects, and groups. Listen to me. Anybody talking of blood, anybody and everybody talking of blood, the blood of Jesus, any blood, anybody talking about any sacrifice, up to and including the sacrifice of Jesus on a cross, anybody talking about crosses or any other implement of torture, anybody talking about saviors, anybody talking about salvation, anybody talking about any of that type of stuff are either one of these beings or are complicit with them. Why would they be complicit with them? For fame, for profit, and also because they think they're not going to get eaten, that they're just going to get eaten last. And many of them that aren't complicit knowingly could be under some sort of mind control. You've heard Tori from Tori Says on this program remarked that she met Hillary twice and Hillary smelled horribly. I've met Hillary and she smells horrible, and she's not dirty. The woman's clean, her clothes are clean, and she smells like rotting flesh. She smells like rotting meat. And this intrepid reporter is going to tell us that that's what they smell like, these Horoc. They smell like rotting, like fruit or flesh that's been left out in the sun to rot. And I want to touch on the fact that they have little empathy, little compassion for humanity. You know, I am so sick and tired of these people that are trying to take the high road and say that they are, I'm for Black Lives Matter because I love my neighbors and I'm for all people. You are a lying sack of shit. These people from Black Lives Matter that have no empathy and no compassion for their fellow human and no courage whatsoever. You get 1 million people in Washington, D.C. marching in the day, all day long. Where's Black Lives Matter? Where's Antifa? Hiding under rocks like the filthy parasites they are, like the slimy worms and bugs they are. Let night fall and let some President Trump supporters that have been enjoying a great day and haven't left when everybody else left. Let them straggle a little bit to leave. Let them dare to sit down and have a dinner a little bit. Scare no. You've been warned. Don't do it again. Then the scumbags come out of the woodwork. Then the cowards. Then the low integrity, subhuman, maybe not even human, come out and start picking off the stragglers surrounding them. They never go up one-on-one, and they usually pick the old guys, the old ladies. So if you support Black Lives Matter, simply stated, you're a piece of shit. And if you are Black Lives Matter, you're a cowardly piece of shit. And we're tired of it, ladies and gentlemen. But you have no empathy. You have no compassion. Everybody that is in Black Lives Matter or supporting Black Lives Matter is complicit with either these beings or with the communists. That's just the plain truth. Let me move on and not spend the whole show pontificating, even though it is my show. So this researcher says, follow your nose, it always knows. This researcher calls these beings the Horoc. This researcher says they smell like fruit that's left to rot in the sun, and that they have terrible halitosis, bad breath, rotten fruit. Most of them are cowardly. I'm thinking Black Lives Matter. I'm thinking Antifa. I'm thinking most people that are not patriots. They are not only pedophiles, but they are cowardly and violent pedophiles. And their numbers have quite literally exploded. And they have. By any imagination, by any measurement, the numbers of cowardly, violent pedophiles have literally exploded. Now, the black is me writing. Think of what we see with the BLM Antifa communist thugs. They never attack patriots outright in a group. They lie in wait like cowards until they can pick off isolated, mostly female and older patriots on their way back to lodging or trying to enjoy a good meal after an event. I'm convinced that many of these cowards may in fact be Horoc, and so are many of their quote-unquote good people supporters. Now, back in the early 2000s, this reporter, the one that gave me this information, attended a Native American powwow in the southwest of England. Interesting, huh? This reporter smelled a Horoc right away, was able to identify this Horoc straight away, as our friends in England would say. And not being the shy type, this researcher walked directly up to this Horoc. had a can of what they called petrol, some type of a flammable in their hand, and lighters, ready to throw it on this Horoc and light the Horoc on fire. Now, it's interesting to note that a lot of times the Horoc engage in emotional blackmail. Think of psychopaths. Think of people that do that. Thank you, Cynthia. I love you. They often engage in emotional blackmail to inspire sympathy as a means to infiltrate, just like Black Lives Matter. Poor us, we're victims, even though they've been paid trillions of dollars in reparations, and I'm going to talk about that someday already. Poor us. Poor Antifa, we're victims. They try to appeal to human sympathy. They try to appeal to human decency, and I'm going to get myself in trouble right now. If you're black and you are bitching and moaning about getting some reparations, stop. Ain't nobody that never owned a slave gonna pay a bitch that never been a slave any money for shit that happened hundreds of years ago, especially after trillions of dollars of our tax money has been given to black people in set-asides for jobs, set-asides for contracts, set-asides for school. It ain't gonna happen. You done get paid. And let me just break it down. If you want to keep yelling for reparations, if you want to keep your hand out for reparations, housing, it goes on and on. Hold out one hand and ask for reparations. Hold out the other hand and shit in it and see which one fills up faster. Y'all need to stop that shit. It's victim mentality. You're better than that. You don't need to reduce yourself to that. I don't know how I got onto that. Oh, BLM, Antifa, Democrats, virtue signaling, infiltration. Come on, man. We need to stop that shit. We're better than that. Now, how about pedophilia in the Horoc? The vast majority, if not all, are pedophiles. They call themselves soul eaters. A perfect euphemism for the extraction and consumption of adrenochrome. They like to torture and terrify their victims, and Israel ain't getting no reparations from us either. We're done with them. They like to torture and terrify their victims. It seems to the researcher that sent me this information that for some reason, these Horoc are unable to take the life soul force until they have the victim so fearful that the victim's ready to do anything, that the victim's ready to agree to anything, because they're so frightened for their lives and for those of their families. Like monsters of lore, they cannot simply take what they want. You must willingly and verbally agree to give it to them. Just like you've got to invite Dracula in before he can suck your blood. And just like you got to ask Jesus into your heart. You ever wondered why when you have that thing at church where they do the altar call, you can't just sit in your seat and quietly pray to Jesus and get saved, quote unquote? No, you got to get up, you got to walk down to the front, and you got to verbally say, I accept Jesus. I ask him to come into my heart. I ask him to cover me with his blood. You got to ask Jesus in, just like you got to ask Dracula in, just like you got to allow the Horoc to take your loosh. They're all demons, dark beings is a better word. And we cancel those words. We bind the power of those words. And I don't care how you want to spin it, Christians. You're going to a torture symbol, which is what the cross is, and you're asking an entity to possess you after he's covered you with his blood, and then you're eating his flesh and drinking his blood continually. That is dark. That is horrific. That is what you would call satanic. But that's probably an insult to Satanists. Now, this is where we get into a good story, and I'm rushing through to get the phone lines opened. When the creature saw that this reporter was armed with the petrol and lighters, it leapt to its feet, at which point the reporter shouted, Horoc! Identified him. And the Horoc went white and backed up a couple of steps. It was visibly shaking. The reporter never broke eye contact. Quietly, the reporter said, "Oh, yes, I know exactly what you are." Earmuffs, ladies and gentlemen. It looked confused, as if asking, how the fuck can they see through my glamour? What is glamour? Glamour refers to a type of energetic camouflage. Most people think that the beings are able to create glamour themselves. The best way to get put in timeout is to ask why you got put in timeout. Glamour refers to energetic camouflage, and we wonder, is it a product of our low vibration and frequency, or is it something they're doing? What they're doing, ladies and gentlemen, is putting on a mask. And it's not so much them, it's just us can't see them. And now the glamour is not really something that blinds us. Once we become divine, sovereign, and free, once we raise our frequency, then we can see through it. But anyway, in response to that Horroc's questioning look, this researcher tapped their nose and said, "You're not the first of your kind that I've seen. You have the same smell. You're not difficult to track. Don't make me hunt you." I love it. They pointed down the hill to Stonehenge, which was a bit away, and said, "From the stones in every direction is out of bounds. Don't come back." Throughout all of this, the Horoc is backing away. And then the researcher said, "Why are you here?" The Horoc looked at a Lakota Sioux lady. The reporter said, "No, she's not for you. Leave now." I love this. I love this. This is what we need to do, not only to Horoc, but to Black Lives Matters and Antifas, because they're the same little bitches. You stand up to them, and they run. For a second or two, this researcher thought that the Horoc was going to try to talk his way out of it. Then the thing thought better, turned around and ran. The researcher then ran over to the Horoc, where the Horoc was sitting, and there was a bag there, like a backpack, like a duffel bag. Inside there was a baseball bat, a meat cleaver, knives, ropes, and duct tape. They had a rape, torture, kill kit right there at Stonehenge, which was supposed to be like a family outing, a nice outing. But being the intrepid reporter that this person was, they grabbed the baseball bat and flung it at the fleeing Horoc, hitting it in its legs, knocking it over. They then threatened the Horoc and let the Horoc know that they would call their entire clan, and they could be straight away upon him with a single phone call. Again, folks, not everything that walks and talks like a man is entirely human. And when this person said this, all the people that were there, it was in the UK, there was a lot of different languages. They started talking to each other. They knew about these things, but they were very surprised that a Western, I broke her cover, a Western woman, this was actually a woman, which makes it even more badass. They were very, very surprised that a Western woman would see or know about the Horoc. And they also started talking about giants, stories of red-haired giants from Scotland. And the food ran out in Scotland. They started eating humans. And then this woman's ancestors must have been as bad as she is, because they ran them out of Scotland, ran them out of the UK. You ever wonder where the stories about St. Christopher running the snakes out of Scotland? It's part of my ancestors and this lady's ancestors running the Horoc out of Ireland, running the Horoc out of Scotland. My tribe is called the Daugherty, and that means the destroyers. It wasn't St. Patrick. It was Jeffrey and all his bitches, and this great researcher and all her bitches running these Horocs off and out of our lands. But this reporter theorizes that many of them might have crossed the ocean and showed up right here on our shores. Wow. They know about these things on the continent in the old world. They know that they're real, but they were surprised that an American could know about them, much less see them. They know about the giants. They know they were banished. And I have a theory, and this is not from the great researcher, but the cannibals that we ran out of Ireland and that we ran out of Scotland 1,000 years ago, hundreds of years ago, they now populate the Christian clergy. They now populate Roman Catholic clergy, Roman Protestant clergy, Christians on YouTube, anybody talking about blood. They also populate the political agenda, the legal agenda, the academic agenda, the entertainment industries, ladies and gentlemen. We ran them out of the old world. They followed us to the new. But now we know what to do. The book of Thoth addresses the Horoc. Far in the past, before Atlantis existed, men there were who delved into darkness, used dark magic, called up beings from the great deep below us. Forth came they into this cycle. Formless were they of another vibration. We couldn't see them because they're from another vibration. Existing unseen by the children of earthmen, only through blood could they have formed being. Hence the endless wars and the endless blood sacrifices of Christianity. Only through man could they live in the world. Only through man could they manifest themselves. And this researcher says it's the best argument against channeling she's ever heard, and I have to second it. In ages past, they were conquered by the masters like the Daugherty and this lady's clan, driven from the place where they had came. But there were some who remained hidden in spaces and plains. So somebody said earlier they're hiding under the ground. They might be hiding under the ground. Some said they came from the deep. They might still be hiding in the deep. And they're also hiding in other planes. They're just out of our frequency. They're out of our phase. Lived they in Atlantis as shadows, but at times they appeared among men. When the blood was offered, forth they came to dwell among men. And in the form of man moved they amongst us. We ran them out of the old world. And why did the Christians leave England? They fled England for religious persecution so they could come to the United States and build a Christian nation, which isn't true. They ran to follow their monsters. They are the monsters. They brought this bloody religion to our shores. Christianity is the Horocs. The Horocs are Christianity. Wake up and smell the bacon. Wakey, wakey, eggs and bakey, ladies and gentlemen. But only to sight were they, as were men, serpent-headed when the glamour was lifted. And it's not the lifting of the glamour from the Horoc. It's the human that gets smart enough to be able to see them. Crept they into the councils, taking forms that were like unto men, slaying by their arts the chiefs of kingdoms, taking their form and ruling o'er man. Only by magic could they be discovered. Only by sound could their faces be seen. Vibration, frequency. Sought they the kingdom of shadows to destroy man and rule in his place. Most of the deep state, most of the Christian clergy are these entities. But know ye, the masters were mighty in magic, able to lift the veil from the face of the serpent, able to send him back to his place. Not magic, but intention. They manifested their intention. They developed their spirituality so they could see him and then run him out. Came they to man and taught him the secret, the word that only a man can pronounce. This researcher says the word is Kennigan. Keninigan. Swift they then lifted the veil from the serpent and cast him forth from his hiding place. Did you see that? When the men became aware, when they became aware of the power of vibration and vocalization, then the veil lifted. Yet beware. They still live in a place that is open at times to the world, maybe a portal, maybe underneath, maybe from the sea. Unseen they walk among thee through portals, in places where the rites have been said. What has rites? Catholicism has rights. Roman Catholicism has rights. Roman Protestantism has rights. Islam has rights. Judaism has rights, not rights. R-I-T-E-S is rights. Wherever these bloody rights are said, then they come and take the semblance of men. Oh, shit. The being that is playing plastic Jesus now is a Horoc. Plastic Jesus is a Horoc. Called may they be by the master who knows the white or the black. But only the white master may control and bind them while in flesh. Best to leave them alone. Just confront them. Don't play with them. Seek not the kingdom of shadows. Forget your white magic. Forget your black magic. Quit messing with things you can't possibly understand, and quit using spells and sigils that aren't your own, because you're going to have to pay an assessment, a fee, a tax to use them, and you don't have the capital or the energy to pay it, and you're going to be taken over, and you'll never get out of this reincarnation. Stop with your ego. Stop with your runaway arrogance. Forget your magic. I was an initiated high magic priest. It's not worth it. I'm fortunate to have gotten free. If you're only the master of brightness, which is what? Light, frequency, shall conquer the shadow of fear. Wow, ladies and gentlemen. Wow. And they conclude with some words about blue avians, the Agigi, and the many and sundry galactic fleets. In addition, writes the researcher, the whole narrative with regards to the galactic fleet of higher dimensional beings we find highly suspect. The blue avians are like the Agigi, which were fallen birds, and this researchers tried to engage with them. They won't, because they're afraid, and yet they're willing to channel for almost any idiot that wants to start a YouTube channel, and the many idiots that'll freaking listen to it. Either it's bullshit, or they realize that this researcher won't be gullible enough to immediately accept or believe their narrative. It's bullshit. And she says, and I concur, channelers are at best delusional, at worst corrupted. And after 30 years of working in the psychic circuit, this researcher has to say that she's massively underwhelmed. You go to these fairs and you pay them $40, $50 to read your this or to read your that. Most of them are delusional. Most of them are charlatans. And at best, they're good cold readers. And what they think are spirits and angels and guides are, in fact, dark entities. I've been saying that to you for years. It's nice to see somebody else. On the same note, the fairies, the fae, the she can also glamour their victims in order to lure them away. This has been documented. Like alien abductions, the fairy abductions of old are an occult fear porn experience. Don't care if you like it, it's the truth. An English university professor, and she sent me his name, I believe it was Graham, traced the origins of the fae back to the fallen, which, if true, also means the Celtic gods of Ireland, and maybe most of all the gods, Celtic, Norse, Greek, Mayan, Egyptian, Aztec, Hindu, are all derived from the same source. All of these things are entities that have been ruling over us in one way or another from the very beginning, like kings, queens, presidents, prime ministers, gods, or gurus. They've all invented man-made religions. Getting us to worship to them and pray to them is giving away your energy and your power. We're like takeout food to them. We're literally providing a banquet for these entities as well as giving away our power to them. Jeff, who do you pray to? Jeff, who do you worship? No damn body. I'm divine. I'm sovereign. I'm free. And if I'm going to get out of this place, and I got news for you, if you're going to get out of this place, you will not get out of this place until you stop worshiping other beings. You will not get out of this place till you stop praying to other beings. And you will not get out of this place until you stop saying that they have power over us, because they don't. They only have the power you give them. There was a time when we were empowered. The Daugherty walked the earth. And they still do. We're in your Daugherty business, and cousins, that business, it's a booming. We were empowered. We were men. We were women. We lived as warriors and poets and storytellers. We kicked ass and we knelt to none. Being required to kneel, to grovel, to beg for forgiveness from a God we're told to both love and fear is the very essence of a sinister, sadomasochistic master-slave relationship. You're sick and you need to be healed. You need to be cured. They're all corrupted gods. All gods are corrupted. Not the creator, but all gods. Listen to this. This is why Christians work so hard, and Christian gurus and Christian preachers and Christian teachers. This is why they want you to be covered by the blood. Why do you think Jesus wants you to cover yourself in his blood? Cover me with your blood, Lord Jesus. Why do you think you sing songs about the power? There's power in the blood, power in the blood. And I bind the power of those words. Why? Because if you're covered with the blood, if you're eating the flesh and drinking the blood, then you lose your ability to smell it. Let's just say that you got stuck in a room where you couldn't leave and you had to shit in that room. You'd go shit in a corner, right? You'd try to find a place in a corner and you'd shit there. If you walked back across the room and laid down on your mat, would you still smell the shit? Yes, you would. For the first few days, you smell the shit really bad. After the next few days, you wouldn't smell the shit quite so much. After a couple weeks, you wouldn't even smell the shit anymore. Well, guess what? When you're covered in that blood shit from plastic Jesus, when you're covered in the blood, you stop smelling the blood. And you'll never smell what the rat bastards got cooking. You'll never smell it. Because you're so used to shit, you can't smell shit. You're so used to blood, you can't smell blood. Plus, as long as you align yourself with blood in any fashion, as long as you talk about having a savior, as long as you talk about needing atonement, as long as you talk about picking up your cross and carrying it, as long as you talk about giving your heart to Jesus, as long as you talk about the Christ consciousness, you're still connected to blood. And your connection, any connection to blood, will keep your frequency from rising high enough to be able to see any of these type of entities and beings. If you don't let go of Jesus, you're never getting out of here because he's a bloody little bastard. You won't be able to smell what Jesus got cooking. You won't be able to smell it. And you won't be able to see it because your eyes are covered with blood and your nose has grown accustomed to it. And shit won't even smell like shit anymore. The good news, this researcher concluded with, and I'm happy to report, and I think and concur with this 100%. The good news is that President Donald Trump is 100% human. President Donald Trump is not a Horoc. Hillary Clinton is a Horoc. President Trump is a higher dimensional being. This lady says if you remote view him, you will see it for yourself. I have, and she's right. The Horoc, ladies and gentlemen. And now it's time for your questions. It's time for your answers. Be polite, be interesting, have a take, and don't suck. The phone number is 913-279-0831. It's right up there above my head. You can call in. You can ask anything. You can call in. You can agree. You can disagree. But you have to be polite in so doing. And you have to be interesting, because we'll have a lot of people. I have a feeling stacking up and wanting to be a part of the program. So with that, the phone lines are open. Once again, it's 913-279-0831, 913-279-0831. And this is a good opportunity for me to remind you of our great sponsor, Focused Life Force Energy. It is high consciousness on demand. Go to jeffreydaugherty.com, click on the fluffy logo, the FLFE logo. You can get up to 30 days free, and I would just buy it. It's the greatest thing ever. EMF mitigation, grounding, nutrient uptake. The list goes on and on. Focused Life Force Energy. Scare no. The Most High, the being that you call Most High, is the rat bastard. Yes, absolutely. Yes, that being is the rat bastard. Bluebird, even as a child, knew that Jesus was fiction and knew he had, or she had, their own higher connection. Good for you. I appreciate it very, very much. And we have our first caller. What's wrong with my... It's late night in the heartland. You're live with Jeffrey Daugherty.
Howdy, Jeffrey. It's Laugh Dancer.
Hi, what's up? Let's be concise. Let's be interesting, and let's let it roll.
Yes. So I have a question for you. Do they take over human bodies, or are they genetically like this? Or are they using some sort of cloaking device and there's actually a different body composition underneath that cloaking device? What are they exactly?
I think that there's entities that would be a yes to every one of those questions. It's my understanding that the Horoc, in particular, are a being that is not human, and they are using our diminished capacities to trick our eyes so they don't see us, or so we don't see them as the beings they are. I don't think the Horoc are human. They look like humans. They act like humans. They walk like humans, but only because we are diminished in our capacities to be able to see them. Once our frequency rises, once we get free of the blood, then we're able to see them. But in a world of 9 million people, and 7 million of them are involved in Abrahamic worship, which is all about blood, you don't have to worry about too many people seeing you.
What about people that were just like repelled by, just in general? Like,
sure, love, thank you.
You just like look at them and you're like, I don't want anything to do with that person. And it isn't like they look ugly or something, but you just know. Like when I look at Tom Hanks, way before I knew anything about him being a pedophile, I saw him as something about it just turns me off.
You know what that's called, Laugh Dancer? That's called discernment. That's called blink. You intuitively know that there's something wrong with that entity. Is Tom Hanks a Horoc? Maybe. Is Tom Hanks a non-player character? Maybe. Is the body of Tom Hanks now being occupied by some type of a walk-in entity? Maybe. Is Tom Hanks a vampire? Maybe. All you know is that you know that your blink, your quick, and let me explain blink really fast because this is important. Blink is your mind, ever since that you have received the first amount of stimulation when you're in the womb, since your brain was functioning, it records every single thing you've ever seen, heard, or understood. It records all of it. And every time you get your snap decision, it means your brain has crunched all that data automatically and given you the best answer. Something wrong with this Tom Hanks. But then you start thinking with your your human mind right now, you just say, well, but he's got a funny show. He's been in some good movies, and you talk yourself out of your blink. Trust your blink. Remember your blink. That's why you know there's something wrong with Tom Hanks.
I always said I love some of the characters he plays. I just hate him.
Well, yeah, I agree with you, and that's exactly right. What else you got for me tonight? We got calls stacking up.
I do have some more stuff, but I could just call back in.
Okay, I'm sure we'll get a break. Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
All righty, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for holding. You're live with Jeffrey Daugherty.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Please turn down the sound in the background so we can hear you.
I'm just doing it, yeah.
Thanks so much.
Hi, Jeffrey. This is Bats in the Belfry.
Oh, this is Bats in the Belfry.
Right, yeah. So I thought I'd better just clarify a couple of things.
So you are willing to come out as the author of this letter that was sent to me?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Tell us and clarify, please. The floor is yours. This is the lady, the intrepid, independent journalist, the intrepid researcher that provided me with the information about the Horoc. Please go ahead and you have the floor, Bats in the Belfry.
Right. What happened actually took place at a powwow which was being held at a place called the Bison Center. So a couple of my friends, they went over to the States in the 60s, and they were taught the Native American tradition and given permission to teach that over here in the UK.
Oh, great.
Yeah. And so, lots of their Native American friends, or like Lakota Sioux and Apache and some of the Cherokee, all different nations, come over periodically and they'll attend them. So they were there. And that lady that this Horoc was hunting was one of them. Now, I didn't actually go over to him with a petrol can. I've obviously expressed that very badly. He had a petrol can, which he tipped over his head, right?
Oh.
It's kind of like an emotional blackmail thing.
I see. I'm gonna emulate myself, or whatever that word is. So feel sorry for me. This woman is coming after me. I get it. And
then of course everybody sort of, oh no, we're a nice crowd. You'll be all right with us. You understand what I mean? So they kind of bring them into the
right.
fold.
I get it.
Yes. Like to the victim. You understand what I mean?
I understand now. Thank you.
Again, the sort of trust and, and
so that was very manipulative on his part. That's what you were relating as to his manipulation.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Got it.
They are highly psychopathic and manipulative.
Do you think they're empathic? Can they read our thoughts?
No, I don't think they can. I think that there are species of them, like higher ones, which can, they can kind of, it's not so much read your thoughts, they can actually get into your mind.
Gotcha.
Well, I think you're advanced enough, and I'm certainly advanced enough that you can block them out.
Right.
But a lot of people, they could get into your mind.
And the other
defenses.
And the other question had the other caller had the question: are the Horocs inhabiting human bodies, or are they a separate species?
Right. This is like the whole serpent thing. Like I suppose you've heard like the sort of reptilian agenda, like
Right.
Well, these are all entities from the kingdom of shadows.
Gotcha.
So if you think first, it like in terms of almost like possession, because if you're paying attention to the stuff there, it's what it's telling you is that they're slaying essentially like the councilmen, like the leaders, and then taking over their body, their image. You understand?
Yes, I get you.
So what we think, is Joe Biden or whatever, it's actually, you know, this thing with a glamour on now.
And bats in the belfry. If I look at Joe Biden,
but that's a glamour.
And if you look at Joe Biden from a couple of years ago and Joe Biden today, I know he's 2 years older, but I swear to you, it's not the same guy. And we're seeing, so they don't always get the glamour just perfectly, or some of us can see it, right?
Yeah, well, this is the thing, you know, I mean, and they give themselves away an awful lot. I mean, like you mentioned Hillary, and she is like one of the nastiest ones.
She is.
You know, I mean, and like she kind of gives herself away as well all the time. She can't help herself. It's kind of like this thing of suppressed rage, you know?
Yes.
So
amazing stuff. What else did you want to clarify?
The guy of the Durham lecturer he's called Dr. Richard Suggs, and I've been trying to kind of like track him down.
Okay.
At the moment, I still haven't got an email for him. I can't get information on him since like 2013. But I've ordered his book, and apparently he does really good footnotes. So I'm hoping that I'll get more sort of information there. But I mean, if you can realize like the implications of this, because essentially, you know, you're talking about we've you know, they've basically been posing as our gods, our rulers. They've had complete control of us. If you think in terms of George Eliot, you know, when you've got like the Ministry of Education and you've got the ministry, well, they control everything. They can't. You've got, you know, your religion. They control all of them.
Absolutely.
You know, that's what you're praying to. You know, we are the banquet.
Absolutely. You know? That's such great information.
The implication, if Joe Biden gets this election, the implications of it is very, very scary. We need Trump to win, because he is quite literally the first human president for since JFK, which is why he got assassinated.
Will you please say that again? Please say that sentence again. Please say that sentence again. That Donald Trump is the first human president since JFK is what you said, right?
Literally since like JFK.
I agree with you 100%.
You know? And before him, probably you're talking Abraham Lincoln, and both of them.
And I'm not sure about Lincoln.
You know, so well, I'm guessing there because you know, I wasn't alive. I don't have that much information on him, you know. So all you've got is what you can read in books.
Right. And I was,
what I mean.
You know, I was born and bred of Confederate stock, so we don't think so highly of Mr. Lincoln.
You know, well.
But listen, I appreciate you calling, and would you please keep me posted on your information? If you're able to cobble together some more information and get a hold of this researcher, anytime that you want to come on and talk about it, we would love to have you.
Well, thank you very much. You know, and you know, if anything sort of hits my interest like this, I'm more than happy to, you know, sort of throw stuff your way, and what you do with it is up to, but I'll always give you references so you can go and check this stuff out. You know?
Thank you so much. And also I want to let you know that if you ever do want to come on the channel as a guest, just let me know.
Actually, that might be fun.
It might be fun.
You know?
You're a wealth of knowledge and information. Yeah.
I think I give you my phone numbers, so you know, give me a ring sometime and we'll discuss it. We'll you know.
It would be my pleasure. Thank you so much for letting us know this great information. And I think that it answers a lot of questions, and it ties together a lot of loose ends, and it lets us know that we're not just facing a human enemy, but we're facing enemies from the kingdom of shadows as well.
Oh, definitely. And it was when that caller said that, you know, it hit me like a ton of bricks, and I thought, do you know, he's so hit the nail on the head there, because as we are ascending, that third eye is opening, and that this very narrow perception that we're living in now is expanding.
Absolutely.
And this is why now I think people are starting to see.
Yes. And your information will help enlighten many people. Thank you so much for calling Bats in the Belfry, and I'll be in contact with you.
Thank you, darling.
My
Bye-bye.
pleasure, love. Bye-bye. Wow, that's a great lady. That's a great call. I appreciate you holding on. You're live with Jeffrey Daugherty.
Hi, Jeffrey. First of all, are you in Kansas City?
I am in the Kansas City area. Some people out there are crazy, so I don't want to tell you exactly where I am.
Oh no, I just was looking at the background.
Yes, I mean,
Anyway.
late night in the heartland. We live in Kansas. We're in the greater Kansas City metropolitan area.
That's awesome. I'm just in Topeka down the road. So.
Oh, you know,
anyway.
we were gonna. Did they have a big protest in Topeka this weekend?
They had a couple weeks ago. They did.
Oh,
It
okay.
was a vehicle one.
Will you do
Yeah.
me a favor? If there's ever going to be a group protest like that of patriots in Topeka, would you shoot me an email and let me know?
Sure.
Thank you, because Cynthia and I would love to go over there.
Cool.
And what's on your
Okay.
mind?
Okay, the Horocs, are they the same? They're the same as reptilians. Is that correct?
From what Bats in the Belfry is saying, that they're very similar to reptilians, but I think there's probably a lot of different species of reptilians and a lot of different species of these entities, be they thought forms or tulpa, these incorporeal entities.
Okay, and so are you actually born that? I mean, they're obviously born that way, but can they make a person into one? Like I read something about where they go into through the eye or.
Well, from
something like
what
that.
Bats in the Belfry is telling us, specifically in regard to the Horocs, it looks like they do possess humans, so they do get in some way. How they get in, we'll have to ask her and get some more information from you on that.
Okay. And is there any way at all, like if you're at the grocery store
Yeah.
or wherever you're at, is there any way besides the smell that you can tell?
Well,
If-
I would say, number one, the smell, obviously. And if you are working on your divinity, working on your sovereignty, working on your freedom, you're going to see something, trust yourself. You're going to feel something, trust yourself. You're going to hear something, trust yourself. You're going to sense something, trust yourself. So if you think you see one, act like you have and take appropriate actions. Trust yourself.
Okay. And what do you mean by appropriate actions? Like
It depends. If you're like the Spooky Yaw channel, then you would go up and confront them. If you're like a less intrepid type of a person, you might just avoid them and go your own way. It's up to you how bad you want to be.
so I could like just say, hey, bitch, how are you?
Yeah, let them know. It's like Rowdy Roddy Piper in They Live. He confronted them.
Yeah.
Some people didn't. They just like, oh, they're over there, and they went away. I'm looking and I'm hoping and I am manifesting that we're going to have a lot more Daughertys, a lot more like this lady's clan, Bats in the Belfry's clan, and that there'll be a lot more people being a lot more militant and standing up for ourselves, and not only with the Horoc, but standing up for ourselves with the slimy Antifas, the slimy BLMs, their slimy supporters. It's time for us to stand and no longer be intimidated by these cowards. It's our country,
That's right.
and it's time for us to keep it and take it back if necessary.
And I think people are getting just pissed off enough to do
We're
it,
done.
so.
We're done. And
I'm done.
It's going to be a whole new world for these little snowflakes when we start fighting back.
Yeah. And so, well, do you have any, I don't know if do you have any inside information at all on, is Trump going to do this thing? I mean, we're all sitting on pins and needles waiting.
Mm-hmm. I am more convinced every day, like today, President Trump came out and President Trump said in very explicit terms, he said this election was unconstitutional. And if you watch the show on Friday, I think it was, I was talking about the Insurrection Act, and the Insurrection Act demands that before the president invoke the Insurrection Act, he must send a proclamation out about unconstitutional actions, and before he invokes the Insurrection Act. I would submit to you that President Trump today has issued a proclamation, a written proclamation over Twitter, that the election was unconstitutional, and we can look for him very soon to invoke the Insurrection Act.
Gosh, I hope so.
I every day I get more and more convinced it's going to happen.
Good, because it's pretty depressing right now.
Don't
Turn
let
on
it.
the TV
Don't
and
let
Biden's acting
yourself.
like he's president, and I just want to throw a brick to it.
And did you notice that the U.S. Congress subcommittee, I forget which subcommittee it was, but they actually sent a letter to the Government Services I think it's Association, the GSA, which funds the transition, and said that from the United States Congress, Joe Biden is not the president-elect. No one has been determined the president-elect. So you are forbidden from spending money and doing any type of that activity on behalf of Joe Biden. So the Congress of the United States, the Congressional Subcommittee on, I forget what it is, the letters of all over the internet, they have officially said, no, Joe, you are not the president-elect.
Well, I heard something about that. I never saw it myself, but I did hear
I
that.
saw it. I've got it here somewhere. I mean, I can find it. I'll find it sometime during the show, and I'll show it to you. But Joe Biden is not the president-elect, and the Congress has stated that in no uncertain terms and has instructed the GSA not to initiate any transition activities because he is not the president-elect. He's just not.
Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you. I'll get off now to give somebody else a chance.
I appreciate you so much. Thank you for
Thank
calling
you.
in.
All right. Thank you.
And we're going to keep rolling
Bye-bye.
on, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh.
Thank you. Thanks for holding on. You're live with Jeffrey Daugherty.
Hey, Jeff, it's John Krez. I am that caller that called in to get this idea going. And I want to thank you because I agree with you 100%. I think it is our frequency. It's not the you're right. It's the cameras. So I think this is awesome that you got this researcher on. She was great. And,
She is great.
Yeah, I think we're going to start seeing this stuff, Jeff.
I think we are. And the more we start talking about it, the more it will inspire us, the more it will empower us. And this just hit me. This is so key. This is how Blink works. Why can't I see him? Why don't I know? I'm so afraid. Why can't I see him? You can't see him because you're so afraid. You can't operate in a high frequency when you're operating in fear. Fear is a very low, a very slow, a very dense frequency. You can't live in fear if you want to see these things and be able to understand these things. And that's why Christianity says the fear of the Lord is the beginning of all wisdom, because they want to keep you locked in fear and locked in their low wisdom so you can't see and understand the higher things. So you've got to stop being afraid.
Exactly. I agree with you 100%. Another thing I want to bring up, you brought up crosses. I got a couple things for you. You're going to like this flat earth, round earth thing I got for you too. I think that's going to be another show down the road. But
okay, we'll send it over to me.
Before I hit that one, I know you like Star Trek, so I got to give you this analogy because you did say about the cross, right?
Right.
So they have to show us, right? So in Star Wars, they had Kylo Ren. He had a cross, and it was a sword that was a cross.
Oh, that's right.
Guy, right?
I saw that pictures of that.
Yeah, so he's wielding that cross, right? So he got defeated by the divine feminine, which is pretty cool.
That is cool.
What happened there.
And that was one of the good things about the Wonder Woman movie, which is pretty much not wonderful, but it was a victorious moment for the divine feminine. And also in one of the X-Men movies, the great big bad guy got defeated by that woman, which is kind of showing us that we need to honor and enlist the help of the sacred feminine.
So I agree with that, Jeff. And here's the thing: I've been, showing people at the gym I train at, and again, we don't wear masks actually to help inspectors.
Good for you.
Again, and we're going to try to do something to, where we have a secret code, and it's ridiculous. But the owner's awesome, and he's been fighting this. And they're if you have not seen, I want to go back on this last thing about the round Earth, flat Earth, because I think you're going to love it.
All right.
It's going to really blow up some minds. But check this out. So they basically Fauci. They just see. I don't watch mainstream news because that lowers your frequency. We know that
it does 100%.
However, once you're woke and you watch it, you actually laugh. You're like, are you serious? These people you see right through all the garbage, just like we're starting to see, that glamour come off.
Right.
We're also seeing all the, the bullshit, right? You can just see right through it. It's so obvious. And that's why people like me and you are like, yeah, Trump, he's got this, man. He's got this. He's got 10 ways to tomorrow how to win this.
He does.
We're going to have a re-election. If we have to, we'll vote again. I mean, or we'll call it the military. I hate to say that.
Well, I actually have found, and we'll get into this hopefully tomorrow, I believe I found in the U.S. Constitution where it explicitly states that if a party in a presidential election, because this was written when there was more than two parties, if a party in the presidential election is shown to have clearly and demonstrably cheated, then that party is thereby disqualified, and the next party with the most electoral votes is declared the winner. It's in the U.S. Constitution. I'll bring it out tomorrow night.
Awesome. I can't wait to see that one. And I'll probably call him that too if I can.
Absolutely.
As far as Fauci goes, so again, this is what I'm getting at. I saw this on a clip because I watch a few other people that are woke people like Tory and Paladin. There's other ones I watch a few here and there because I don't have to watch mainstream then.
Right.
Fauci actually had the balls to say, you know what this guy said? He goes, even with the vaccine, which none of us are going to take, they can shove it. And he goes, even with the vaccine, we are still going to be wearing masks and social distancing. Are you kidding me?
I think it's because they have to think about it. The mask and the distance. The mask helps cover their tracks. The mask helps prevent us from seeing, and the distance helps prevent us from seeing. And the distance, we can't smell as well. We don't have the our sensory perceptions. Hey, I really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to your next call.
So one last thing.
Okay, real quick.
Blow your mind too, maybe. Make it quick. So Star Trek, right? I love Star Trek too. And this is, they've proven this, the good scientists, the real science, not fake science.
Right.
They prove that this is a holographic universe, a holographic world. So remember the holodeck?
Yes.
Was that round or flat? I think it was flat, wasn't it?
It was flat. How about that?
So people that have the glamour on them, they will see the Earth.
Oh shit, that's right.
The force field around the Earth. Without the glamour, it turns flat.
So the glamour is what makes people think they're living on a spinning ball.
Yep.
Fantastic.
And I was with the round for a while, but it's like, hey, I have to bounce back and forth between these two worlds. But some round Earth, flat Earth, and so I kind of, that's where I'm at, and I think that's the problem.
That is amazing stuff. Maybe we can. Thank you so much. That's powerful information, and I tell you what, I agree with it. Thank you for holding on. You're live with Jeffrey Daugherty.
Hi, Jeffrey. It's Laugh Dancer again.
Hi, what's up?
I had a quick thing to say.
Please.
So one thing I noticed is with like I wanted to get into film. It was becoming video at that point when I wanted to get into it, and I actually went to like a well-known school for film, and we would interview people in the film business.
Right.
And one thing going to school made me realize how much the leftist agenda is like permeates everything. And it seems like there's the Satanism thing, there's the Christianity thing, there's the Muslim thing, and they all seem to be like kind of opposites, but they're actually the same thing.
They're all Abrahamic religions. Yep.
Yeah, and then you bring up these Horocs and their agenda to like guilt trip us into being slaves. And then on top of that, it's like when I was studying about film and I started seeing stuff, it's like I ended up dropping out of school because I just couldn't stand it anymore. I couldn't stand the agenda. And I was like watching people, like, it seemed to me there's a point that where somebody ceased being human and they became like, they lost their humanness and like even their godlike powers, I'll call it. And they just became like a facade or a shadow. Have you noticed this? Do you know? See what I'm saying?
Not so much, no, but I can, I respect what you're saying.
Like, what is it called? Two Men and a Boy or something? That TV show with that guy, real famous guy that got accused of pedophilia.
Yeah.
Like looking at him, like he lost his humanness, like, and now he's just a monster.
Gotcha. Okay.
You know who I'm? Sheen or something? Is it Charlie Sheen?
I don't know, and we're kind of, let's not spend any time on that. What else do you have on your mind?
The Shumash culture talks about 3 layers of earth. There's the earth that we humans occupy. There's an underworld where there's these things that come out at night and they will snatch people and children. And so they would put their children, the women and children would sleep inside the hut, the
right.
reed hut, or not reed. It's like,
I know what you mean.
And then the men would sleep outside to protect the people.
Fascinating stuff. She's right. A lot of good stuff there. And we need to protect those that are weaker among us. And she's very right. And I appreciate the call. We got a lot of people on hold. Let's move on. Oops. Sorry. I dumped you there inadvertently. Here we go. Thanks for holding on. You're live with Jeffrey Daugherty.
Hey, Jeff, this is Mark. It's great to talk to you.
It's great to talk to you, Mark.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say I really appreciate this show that you're putting on right now. It's a fantastic show. It's just mind-blowing and great.
Thank you. And I have to thank Bats in the Belfry. She's the one that gave me the information.
All right. Well, I'm calling in because I had some kind of an early life experience with what we're calling Horocs in this video. I would kind of like to share. I'm very nervous to share if that's okay with you.
Go ahead. I'll give you the floor.
Okay. There was a kid I met through church, obviously, that type of situation when I was about 7, who just seemed like a really good friend all of a sudden, but then just started doing extremely manipulative things,
Right.
And just stacked on top of one another, and eventually it culminated in an event when I was around 9 years old, where they got me on recorder saying some very compromising things, not really terrible things, but things that would really disrupt the Christian family.
Sure.
Get me in a lot of trouble and get everyone that knew me hating me, pretty much, like that type of thing,
Yeah.
And they used that recording to control me, literally, like blackmail me and control my every action and even thoughts for 3 years.
Wow.
And this is the thing about this person. So from 9 to 12, this person did this. That person had the worst shit breath I've ever smelled. Like,
yeah.
And this is a clean person who was obsessively clean. His teeth were as white as a Home Depot paint sample. There was no reason for him to have that breath, and he did not smell good. That's
wow. Sounds very much like he could have been a Horoc.
Yeah, that this is very personal, and I just feel like I should share it. That same guy, pretty much, I'm not going to go into too many details because my sister's involved in the details, but this guy ruined is too strong a word. I'm sorry. This individual really broke apart my family, like destroyed it at its core, like damaged it in so many ways. He sexually assaulted my sister.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Thank you. That's kind of what finally got my family away from that situation.
Well, good.
But,
So it came out. There was some benefit to it.
Yeah. So I'm pretty convinced. I've been watching your channel for a while, and there's a lot of stuff that kind of had me thinking about this guy for years. Just because of watching certain things.
Well, I'm glad we've been able to give you. I'm glad we've been able to help you get some clarity on the situation. It sounds like you're exactly right. And the lady that sent me the information, Bats in the Belfry, she's in the chat room, and she says that it does indeed sound like a Horoc to her. That's the kind of games they play.
Yeah, and this person would also just seek out. He would go to special links to figure out the things that I liked and then destroy them.
Exactly. That sounds exactly like a Horoc. I really appreciate you calling in. I hope it's not the last time.
Okay. Well, thanks for taking my call. I'm enjoying the show. I'll talk to you.
And you did great. You did great. Thanks so much. That was a really great call. Very difficult situation, obviously, for someone to talk about. But that's the way that we learn. That's the way that we grow. And we do, talk about Star Trek. There's, the Star Trek, I guess it was 5 with Spock and Cybok, his brother. You share and you gain strength from the sharing. Many times you do. And I thank you for sharing that. It was very helpful and instructive to a lot of us, and hopefully to you too. It's Late Night in the Heartland. You're live with Jeffrey Daugherty.
Hey, Jeff. Do you think that Horocs possibly are infecting people with archons via the dosum whist?
Do you think Horocs are infecting people with the dosum whist? Is that what you said?
With archons via the dosum whist.
Wow, that's really interesting. How would that work? Explain your thought train to me, if you could, please.
Star Trek assimilation, what we were trying to get at earlier with that one really great caller. I'm thinking the way that they infect people and take them over is assimilation through like a symbiotic relationship.
Gotcha.
Like it's a melding of their biology with ours.
That makes sense. And I think that's what Bats in the Belfry was kind of talking about, was a situation like that. Very, very interesting.
Our biological differences clash, and it treats it like an infection. And that's why all the bad smells, all the biological signs.
Oh, yeah. That's great. I think that you may be onto something here. And, if we know the dosum whist, that's what we call the COVID or the stupid 19, the pandemic, because we don't want to give it any energy. If you think about it, we know from a tactical, human, political type of situation why they did it, but very rarely does the enemy do something that's just political, just natural, or just spiritual. Usually there's components of each, and that would go a long way towards explaining the spiritual components of the stupid 19, the pandemic.
Right. And they truly are foreigners, and they seek to manipulate and undermine and destroy things that are not compatible with their views.
How about this, Brandon? We know that the stupid 19, the pandemic, is a frequency. It's a carrier wave, a frequency. What if it's a carrier wave and frequency that the Horoc can ride in on? And when we know the end, everybody that's got the stupid 19 are the people that were taking the stupid flu shots, and they're the people that are dull, dumb, stupid, lazy, and they're the easiest ones to take over. So we'll just say it once, the COVID-19 may be a carrier wave for entities like the Horoc to enter into human beings. So don't take the vaccines, don't take the flu shots, because the mark of the beast or a chip is the least of your worries. You may be importing a spiritual entity that will take over your body.
Well, Jeff, I think there is evidence of that in stuff that Bill Gates is working on, like biological DNA modifiers.
Yep.
And what effects are 5G going to have on it?
Yeah, I think there's a real difference between the original 5G, the Huawei 5G, and the 5G that looks like it's out now. So I've never, for some reason, and this again is a Blink thing, I've never really been too worried about 5G. And I know that's going to cause people to go into an uproar, but I've just never been worried about 5G. I never have, and I'm still not.
Did you see the studies that there were interruptions of local wildlife with birds, and also they've never done real human trials to see what happens as far as environmental impact?
It doesn't surprise me at all that they've never done any environmental impacts on it. And maybe it's because, again, I'm not sure that I even live in this dimension. Maybe it's because of my frequency or because of my whatever. I just don't have any fear or worry about the 5G. I just don't think that it's that big of a deal. I think it's something that's almost fear porn that we're worrying too much about. I could be wrong. I could be right, but that's just what I feel.
I think it's a combination of all things, Jeff, to be honest with you. Like, it feels like they want to ride on that frequency of fear and use every little push they can get to get closer to that vulnerability frequency. And I think that is a lot of what they're trying to do, is scare people into a compromised immune system to be more open and willing to accept things that they shouldn't.
I agree.
Like, especially the aerosols sprayed into the air,
Yeah, absolutely. And there are ways that we can optimize ourselves to become more impervious to that. And I've got a really exciting announcement I can make within probably a week or 10 days that is going to help along those lines. So we're really excited about that. And yeah, I think you're right, Brandon. I think we've identified a lot of intriguing possibilities. And for those of us that are divine, that are sovereign, that are free, that do have our eyes open, then we don't really have anything to worry about, because we are the last generation of real humans. We're in the business of doing this business, and we're booming, baby. So let's just be confident. Let's be strong. Let's not be stupid. Let's still prepare. Let's still optimize ourselves physically, mentally, spiritually. But we are the winners. Well, Jeff, I think I'm doing pretty good under the circumstances. My friend, you're not supposed to be under the circumstances. You're supposed to be over the circumstances. Brandon.
Hey, Jeff, can I ask one final thing for you?
Yes.
From you? I have a very good friend of mine that is going through a really hard time right now, possible abusive breakup, and a father that is in a bad health situation. So it's all hitting around this time of Thanksgiving, and if you can send a really good vibration out to her family.
Do that, and we'll ask everybody to focus on this friend of Brandon's and on the father, and we're all going to send our powerful, loving, healing, soothing, peaceful intention and vibration to those people, and we're going to continue to do it throughout this Thanksgiving season. Brandon, thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Take care, my brother. Thanks for calling. And like Spooky Yaw, who is the Bats in the Belfry, the intrepid investigator that was telling us about the Horoc, she said, and you see it on the screen, it is all about control. They can't feed us. They can't control us. They can't feel us unless we are in a perpetual state of fear. And folks, I know some of you hate me. He's the Christian whistleblower. He's always talking bad about God. He's talking bad about the Bible. This is why. It's fear and guilt based. Why are they trying to keep you in fear and guilt? Because they're trying to keep you under control and keep you from being divine, sovereign, and free. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back after this. This is going to be a great message from my friends at Focused Life Force Energy. Folks, I got to tell you, it's one of the greatest products that I've ever seen. It's one of the most powerful things that I've ever seen. But you know what I don't see is I don't see the folder that has my commercials in it, man. What happened to my commercials? That's a bad thing, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to have to call on some very, very deep resources of self-control and self-management because I don't have what I need to take a break. So I guess we're going to keep powering on, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, cousins of all ages, men and women, boys or girls, I found it. Have no fear. And my bladder is saying, thank the baby Jesus in his pearly little fluffy white diaper that I did find this. And if it was fluffy and white, it wouldn't have stayed that way for long, right? Because come on, it was a baby, and you know what babies do. We all know what babies do. So, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back after this great break, and we'll look forward to seeing you and rocking on through till midnight with your calls. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian Whistleblower. I'll be right back.
All FLFE subscriptions include the brain optimization program. This is brain optimization for our modern world, which today is including more and more EMF or electromagnetic fields. And we look at those as either positive electromagnetic fields, which the earth and our bodies produce those, or negative or consciousness lowering electromagnetic fields. And that's really what we're concerned with. So this brain optimization program is designed along with the rest of FLFE to provide more life force energy, or as Chinese medicine calls it, qi, to the body. And the body is optimized through the flow of qi and life force energy throughout the body. And the brain optimization program provides more of this energy to the brain, particularly where it's most needed.
The FLFE environment is supported through something we call programs. The programs are positive declarative statements that are measured using consciousness kinesiology as taught or explored by Dr. David Hawkins. And those programs are very high level of consciousness thought forms. If you're familiar with the Hawkins map, they're at 999 out of 1,000 or higher. So there's a lot of work that goes into those. It's a very labor-intensive process. It's a labor of love, but it does take some time and effort. So they're very specifically crafted. And in the brain optimization program, they are oriented to optimize the brain. So during the day, the FLFE programs support increased functioning in the brain. Increased functioning are things like increased concentration and stamina, so we can study longer and retain more information.
You know you want some stamina, man.
Those meetings or conversations. At night, the FLFE environment supports enhanced rebuilding of the physical aspects of the brain, which is very much in alignment with the innate intelligence of the body. We just use the environment to enhance that so that our quality of life is increased.
Excellent. And folks, I'm going to say something that I know neither Clayton nor Jeff would probably want me saying, but I am believing, as I was sitting down and getting back together, that the focused life force energy probably makes it impossible for many dark entities to manifest in your vicinity or attack you. We do know for sure that no one has ever been abducted by a ET or whatever out of a focused life force environment, and we don't believe that anyone has ever become what you would call spiritually possessed in a focused life force energy environment. So go to jeffreydaugherty.com and click on the fluffy logo, and you can get it free for 30 days, or you can just get it, which is what I would recommend that you do, ladies and gentlemen. So the phone lines are now open again. You can see it's 913-279-0831. Believe it or not, we've only got about 20 minutes left in the program. I can see that we've got some hearts. I think those come from Facebook. Sarah loves it. Mark loves it. Anna loves it. Nicole loves it. Kim loves it. I'm finding out things that I can't do, that I can do, that I didn't know I could do. Thank you so much. And then we've got bad, sad faces from Onyx and from Taylor. Well, instead of putting a sad face, why don't you pick up the phone and call? Why don't you pick up the phone and call? Of course, that would take some integrity and that would take some tenacity. And you probably don't have that. So that's okay. We understand why you don't call. But folks, the Horoc. Wow. What about the Horoc? And I just love the comments from Bats in the Belfry, continuing to talk to us about them. And she's the expert. She says, please, we just need to stop being scared and stop letting them take our freedoms. We can rule ourselves, and that goes for more than just the Horoc, ladies and gentlemen. That is for sure. And I appreciate all of the great input tonight. I appreciate all of the great phone calls. And let's talk about some of the great information that's going on today. The election data team, ladies and gentlemen, is going to call 1.25 million voters over anomalies in 6 contested states. They're going to prove, ladies and gentlemen, that this election was stolen and it's going to be found to be fraudulent. President Trump is going to be awarded the election according to the Constitution of the United States. And you've got to remember, folks, and I'm going to show you this so it's not just me saying it. You've got to remember that at the end of the day, this election fiasco that we are watching, it is about, ladies and gentlemen, a battle between freedom. This will be the second American Revolution. We are initiating the great American century. Our future is brighter than it's ever been. Our best days are ahead of us. It's going to be better than ever, sooner than you can ever imagine, if we continue to hold the line and make sure that we enforce the victory won by our great president. And the option is it'll either be freedom or it will be communism. And I don't care what you think about Donald Trump. I don't care if you love him, hate him. This is about more than being on the right. It's about more than being on the left. It's about more than being a Democrat. It's about more than being a Republican. It is about whether you want freedom and a restoration of the American Republic or whether you want communism. If we don't hold the line and Joe Biden somehow is successful in stealing this re-election, we will have national mask mandates. We will be locked down. Our small businesses will go out of business, and we will all be getting paid by the government a barely livable wage, which precludes anyone ever rising up to excellence. And we will be the Western version of the People's Republic of China. You've got to stand in the gap. You've got to say no. You've got to say no more. It's freedom or tyranny. And I'm telling you, Christianity is a part of the tyranny. It's not a part of the freedom, ladies and gentlemen. You've got to get your minds free. You've got to get your minds clear. That religion is not here to help you. That religion is here to destroy you and bring you under fear, bring you under guilt, and bring you under low vibration so that these entities can take control of us, so these entities can destroy us. We've got I thought it was let's see. Becky, who's in the Army, left us a message. Sorry, Becky, I can't check voicemails on that right now, but you're welcome to call back. We do have an open line, and we appreciate anybody and everybody that wants to call in. It is 913-279-0831, 913-279-0831. And folks, How can you listen to the Canadian Prime Minister tell us that the dissonance, the pandemic, the stupid 19 was an opportunity to help establish the new world order, the new global order, and think that it's anything other than that? They are telling us, ladies and gentlemen, what they're doing. They're telling us what they're trying because they have to. And we just have to stand with our great president, and everything will be all right. We can do it. We are doing it. We just have to stand strong. We just have to stand proud and not let this fall through the cracks. I know you can do it. I know we can do it. And I know that we're going to do it, ladies and gentlemen. Again, the phone lines are open, 913-279-0831, 913-279-0831. You're welcome to call in. And I'm always mystified that we have all these people that want to talk so bad about me and know about how wrong I am and how terrible I am, but none of them ever pick up the phone and make a call. It mystifies me. Sorry, I'm trying to get over there. It's Late Night in the Heartland. You're live with Jeffrey Daugherty.
Hi, Jeffrey. One thing I want to say is I love this program that you're holding. It's huge that we're having this discussion, this dialogue about this. I mean,
Thank you.
I just don't know any other channel like this.
I appreciate that. I really do.
And it means a lot to me that I have someplace safe to talk about it.
You do.
There was a lot of fear that was going on before I found your show, and it's like it's dissolved. And I just wanted to put a little tickle in your ear to maybe make your eyes perk up on any information you might find connecting. Okay, so there's something I found that actually Fauci took a gene in our genetics and weaponized it to be the dissonance.
Yeah, I always look for more confirmatory data on that. I'm not saying that it didn't happen. It's certainly possible, but that's something that I give a little bit of a deaf ear to until I see actual confirmatory data, but it's very possible.
I watched a documentary. I mean, not a documentary. This lady just went through, took 15 minutes and showed us online where to find the information.
Excellent.
I don't have it anymore. I should look for it. Then the other thing I saw is that the 5G in itself is not dangerous. It's the same with this weaponized genetics. It's like I feel like these entities are taking things that are benign and they're making them dangerous. Things like GMO corn.
Things in combination. That's interesting.
And like any kind of thing can become dangerous if you use it wrong. If you took and put your hand in a blender, it's going to make mincemeat of your fingers. But if you use it to make a smoothie, that's healthy for you.
That's a great point. So yeah, and maybe that's part of what I feel. I mean, when you're at a certain place, you don't worry about some of those things, but you got to remember not everybody is at your place. And I think there comes a point where you're impervious to whatever this dimension is trying to throw at you. You've raised above the frequency, you've raised above the vibration, and it's not, anything to pat yourself on the back on. It's just the normal progress of human optimization. And maybe that's why it doesn't bother me, because I know it can't affect me.
Yeah, and I remember seeing somebody who claimed, I can make you immune to I think it was the dissonance, 5G, and what was the other one? Maybe GMOs, something like that.
Right.
And then I started thinking about it. It's like they're basically just talking about raising our frequency. So this is a thought. I just realized I might have dated somebody who was a Horoc, or a Horoc in making, if that makes sense.
It does make sense.
And so this person, I got this person to start eating healthier.
Ooh.
And the smell started to go away.
Oh, interesting.
But then it's like it was a constant battle between whatever was possessing them and me. Oh, by the way, this person claimed to have been abducted.
Ooh, very interesting.
He lived in Ohio when he was a child. His also at one point studied witchcraft, and then she became very Christian.
Interesting.
I don't think she's like high in the echelons. I just think she was confused.
Right. That makes a lot of sense.
So, anyway, he said he and his sister and his mother used to watch the UFOs at night because they were out in the wilderness. They were in the country. And later, it's like he would have, like when I met him and we started seeing each other, he would have nightmares at night. Like where he would wake up like, like in
Yeah, that's
total
fear. Yep.
So I think I'm not sure about this, but this is just my theory. I think that they're fighting for that person's soul because later on, like just recently, like this year, he got two notes. Like one was an email, I think, and one was a letter in his mailbox asking him to join the Illuminati right when everything hit the fan with the pedo rings like
Wow.
getting exposed. And it was working up towards the vote for this whole thing, the whole
Crazy stuff. Crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for sharing that with us. That was great. Good call. We got somebody on hold. Thank you for holding. You're live with Jeffrey Daugherty.
Hey, Jeff, it's John again. Hey, I had a question, and maybe you know the answer. You might have already spoken about this. Big concern I have, and I think everybody does, right, is the cheating on the Senate and House as well. And I know that in my state, Arizona, the guy that's supposedly winning, the Democrat, which pretty much most people I know didn't vote for him. Most people holding Trump flags up, and I think they would vote for the Republican McSally. He openly supports China, which is kind of odd, right? And he's winning. So what is your thoughts on that? I mean, are we going to go after, the Senate and the House as well on the cheating there?
Well, if you look at an election, it all comes down to the Constitution. I don't know. I know the Constitution addresses the federal election because it is a federal election. I would think that if we're addressing federal elections, that would also cover the House of Representatives and the U.S. Senate. So if it is proven, which it will be no doubtedly proven or undoubtedly proven, that the Democrat Party has demonstrably and provably cheated on the election, then if, according to a strict reading of the Constitution, and we'll get in this tomorrow night, that would mean by default that the opponents of the Democrats would win every single election where it can be proven that there was cheating going on.
Wow.
So you could see, remember President Trump talking about a great red wave? That could be a great red wave. Now, when we get down into state elections, like Tracy's talking about county commissioner, then you're going to have to go to state by state laws and state by state constitutions, because that's not under the domain of the federal government.
Yeah, sounds right to me. And I think one of the things we can't worry about is, I know a lot of people, it's that fear again. They keep thinking, a lot of my friends too, they're like, what's going to happen? Is Trump going to actually pull this off? And I think we all need to, our consciousness can create this. And I think we need to stay positive, and I'll keep saying that. And thank you for that. One other question I have is, he did do, we know that, I believe California, they proved, I'm pretty sure, I may be wrong on that. They had collusion with a foreign entity. I know that server was found in Germany, supposedly, right? That the Dimension or whatever server, is that a correct statement?
Dominion.
I think that was found.
Dominion and Seidel, both of them.
Yeah, so that's foreign collusion, so we can prove that now. So there's a lot of stuff way to win this. So what was that executive order? He had two of them, and maybe other stuff going on, I don't know, if a foreign entity is involved. I believe there's some stuff on that as well.
All of the assets of the said foreign entity and the complicit companies and individuals in the United States, all of their assets can be seized. You're talking about seizing the assets of the Democratic National Committee. You're talking about seizing all the assets in the United States of the People's Republic of China.
Wow.
Is this how President Trump goes a long way towards eliminating all of the debt that the Fed is illegally stacked upon us?
Sure sounds like it, doesn't it?
It sure sounds like it. That is really something to talk about. We'll have more of that tomorrow night. I'm going to try to get to one more call if I can. It's late night in the Heartland. I can give you about 2 minutes. We're up against the end of the show.
So while you're talking about them blood-eating vampires running the government, huh? Delaney Pearl Jones.
Ah, what about that, Delaney Pearl Jones?
Well, you know, just a few weeks ago, YouTube snagged my very first video to YouTube. It was Bill Clinton during the DNC speech, July 26, 2016. I caught that motherfucker's eyes flipping yellow.
Did you?
It slit. I got stills. And guess who tried to take my video from Facebook and put it on her page? Sandra Bullock. She tried to put it on her reptilian page. You cannot mistake my voice or duplicate my voice, okay? I said, do you want the stills? She wouldn't even let me try to add the stills to her shit. But that's okay, though. On my Facebook page, it is still there.
Yeah.
After 4 years, YouTube took that video and tried to say it's cyberbullying against Bill Clinton. Now, I just exposed him as a fucking reptilian. That's all. Half of Haiti is dead because of his motherfucking ass. Do you know how many children that son of a bitch is eating? Oh my God, you don't understand how many dead children be bothering me about that son of a bitch.
Yep. And you're right. I mean, it's strong language, but you're right.
Sorry, but Tim Kaine, during Hillary Clinton's loser speech live on TV, Tim Kaine's eyes were flipping. And guess what? I caught that too. That video is in my Reptilian Shapeshifters playlist.
You know, that guy,
right now.
That guy just fell off the face of the earth, didn't he, Tim Kaine?
Didn't he? Yeah, old Timmy. And so is Maury Povich. He's a negative energy vampire too.
Interesting.
Caught him too. Got all that on my Facebook page and on my YouTube Reptilians and Hybrids playlist on my channel.
Delaney, who else have you seen in your basement lately?
Well, it's like a dance party. Rick came up here the other day. He was talking with the neighbor.
Rick who?
My husband.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, he was down the hall talking to my neighbor downstairs. And he asked me, he's like, is Mariah downstairs? His wife. She's like, is your wife downstairs in the basement? She's like, no. You know, Rick's like, I heard all the people down there. You can look at Spirits in Action. That's on my playlist and my YouTube. Go in there and look at it. I can't even tell you. It's like a dance party down there. I told you the FBI came to my house because I did an anti-abortion video. The dead ladies attacked me, talking about telling these motherfuckers what we want to do to them.
Wow. Delaney, never a dull moment. I appreciate you calling in. Thanks so much, sweetheart.
Yes, dude. The government's ran by lizards. Or shame.
Yep, you and David Icke saying the same thing.
Yep.
All right, Delaney, thanks for ending up the show on a high note. I appreciate it. We're going to close down the calls there. We've only got a couple of minutes left. I just want to take the time to say thank you to all of you that take time out of your day to tune in to this program. We appreciate you very much. You mean a lot to us, and you are always welcome to call in. And I really wish that some of you that don't agree with me would call in, because it would make for a much more interesting show, and it would make you feel better to actually do something that's constructive than to just try to sit back and be a troll all the time. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian Whistleblower. I'm also the mailman, because rain, snow, sleet, dark and night, trolls, any kind of craziness, we are always completing our rounds and bringing you the information. I bring you to water only you can drink. I bring you to objective truth, and only you can think. We'll be back tomorrow night at 10 p.m. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian Whistleblower. This has been Late Night in the Heartland. You're the best audience on YouTube. Late Night in the Heartland. And thank you all for making my day. And let's go out to a little bit of the Sick Prepper drum solo.